Welcome to the program where we break down the world's most powerful headlines into the stories that really matter. Today, we're diving into one of the most talked about fractures in modern American politics and technology, the dramatic fallout between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and the surprising decision by the Trump administration to keep Starlink operating at the White House despite their very public breakup. It's the kind of twist that seems straight out of a political drama. Two of the most dominant personalities of the century. One, a former president who regained the White House with a brash second-term comeback. The other, a tech mogul who turned rockets into taxis to space and turned cars into computers on wheels. At one point, they were on the same page, aligned on business, politics, and influence. But today, things have soured. And yet, amid the chaos, one essential tool remains untouched: Starlink, the satellite internet constellation operated by Musk's SpaceX, the lifeline for military communications, remote government operations, and yes, even for the President of the United States himself. The story begins years ago when Trump and Musk saw their stars aligning. Musk admired Trump's deregulatory approach to business, his willingness to take on entrenched power, and his embrace of disruption. Trump, on the other hand, saw in Musk the embodiment of American ingenuity, a tech titan willing to put boots back on the moon and dreams back into orbit. In Trump's eyes, Musk was the 21st century Henry Ford. In Musk's mind, Trump was a wrecking ball clearing the bureaucratic deadwood that slowed innovation. Their alliance was mutually beneficial. Musk received tax credits and government contracts. Trump received tech legitimacy, a partnership with the future. For a time, it worked, but over time, that friendship turned into something much more volatile. Musk began to distance himself from Trump's more controversial stances. He stepped away from advisory boards. He criticized the administration's stance on climate change and international diplomacy. Yet despite their growing ideological differences, one thing remained constant: SpaceX's indispensability to the U.S. government. And nowhere was that more evident than with Starlink. Starlink began as a moonshot, a constellation of low Earth orbit satellites designed to beam high-speed internet to even the most remote corners of the Earth. But what started as an ambitious tech experiment quickly turned into an infrastructure backbone. Starlink allowed Ukrainian forces to stay connected during war. It enabled emergency response teams in the U.S. to operate during blackouts. It became, in effect, a digital lifeline, and one that the Pentagon, the CIA, FEMA, and yes, the White House all came to rely on. Fast forward to 2025. Trump, now back in the Oval Office, had reshaped his administration with a sharper tone and tighter inner circle. Musk, meanwhile, had grown more vocal, more controversial, and more critical of Trump's second-term agenda. In early June, Musk launched a verbal missile on social media. He called Trump's proposed legislative package a disgusting abomination. He accused the administration of betraying American innovation and, in a series of now-deleted posts, hinted at deeper moral concerns. It was an open rebellion from a man who once stood beside the president on the White House lawn, promoting the future of American-made vehicles. Trump, never one to let criticism slide, retaliated. He went public. He called Musk unstable. He said he had lost his mind. He hinted at substance abuse and mocked Musk's tendency to speak in riddles and memes. Behind closed doors, reports suggested that Trump even considered revoking some of Musk's federal contracts. And yet, through all this fire and fury, one relationship remained oddly intact: the United States government's reliance on Starlink. So why did Trump choose to keep Starlink active at the White House? Why didn't he sever ties with a man he now sees as a traitor to the cause? The answer is simple, and yet revealing: practicality. In politics, few things are sacred. Friendships break, alliances crumble, but utility remains. And Starlink is, in many ways, irreplaceable. Starlink's infrastructure is so deeply embedded into the government's secure communication systems that removing it would not only be difficult, it would be dangerous. It powers encrypted video calls between global leaders. It connects remote, military outposts in real time. It ensures that if disaster strikes, the government can still operate from any location, underground or in the skies. Trump may no longer be Musk's biggest fan, but he understands leverage. And in this case, Musk holds a lot of it. Pulling the plug on Starlink wouldn't just be political theater, it would be a national security risk. And Trump knows better than to let a feud risk the machinery of state. Of course, this decision hasn't gone without criticism. Some members of Trump's inner circle pushed for alternatives. They floated ideas of building a government-run satellite network. Others suggested inviting foreign firms to fill the void. But all of these ideas came with steep costs, long timelines, and security concerns. In the end, even Trump's hawkish defense secretary conceded Starlink was too big to unplug. This isn't the first time a president has had to swallow pride in the face of practicality. History is full of such moments. Franklin Roosevelt worked with industrial titans he distrusted. Eisenhower relied on private defense contractors who often clashed with his ideals. What we're seeing now is another chapter in that same story, a reluctant partnership held together not by trust, but by necessity. But that doesn't mean the relationship is back on track. Behind the scenes, both camps are laying the groundwork for independence. Trump's team is pushing the Pentagon to invest in alternative satellite providers. DARPA is accelerating development of government-owned constellations. The Department of Energy is exploring new quantum communication systems that could replace some of Starlink's encrypted pathways. Meanwhile, Musk is hedging too. He's redirecting focus to international markets. He's expanding Starlink in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, places where U.S. government contracts don't carry the same weight. It's a Cold War of sorts. Not with missiles or spies, but with tech infrastructure and strategic planning. Still, for now, the line remains intact. Starlink beams internet to the White House bunker. It powers real-time communication from Air Force One. It links satellites in orbit to boots on the ground. And it continues to serve a government run by a man who publicly disdains its owner. It's a delicate balance. One wrong tweet, one more accusation, one regulatory slip-up, and everything could change. But in this moment, the arrangement stands. Perhaps it's a reminder that in the modern world, influence isn't just about politics, it's about platforms, infrastructure, digital arteries. And when someone controls the bloodstream of information, even the most powerful office in the world has to think twice before cutting ties. Trump may no longer admire Musk. He may regret giving him so much access, so much influence, so many contracts. But he also knows something every world leader knows. When you're standing on a digital cliff, you don't kick away the only bridge you've got. You walk carefully, you plan for the future, and you keep the signal strong. This entire episode also speaks to a broader truth about power in the 21st century. It's not just held in the hands of presidents or prime ministers, it's distributed across networks, servers, satellites. In many ways, Musk isn't just a businessman, he's a node of power, an unelected sovereign of bandwidth and connectivity. And whether politicians like it or not, they have to deal with that reality. That's what makes this story so compelling. It's not just about personal drama. It's about structural dependence. It's about how our government now leans on private tech in ways we couldn't have imagined 20 years ago. Imagine this. The commander-in-chief preparing a response to a cyber attack, relying on a satellite connection run by a private citizen who has just called him a traitor. Imagine national emergency alerts sent through infrastructure partially owned by a man who might be feuding with the entire administration. It's the kind of fragile interdependence that would make the founders of the nation uneasy. And yet, it's the world we live in. So where do we go from here? Will Trump eventually cut the cord? Will Musk pull the plug if pushed too far? Or will they both recognize that in a world built on interconnected systems, enemies sometimes have to collaborate? For now, the balance holds. Starlink remains active, the White House remains online, and behind the scenes, two of the world's most influential men continue their Cold War. One tweet, one contract, one satellite at a time. If this story tells us anything, it's that power today isn't just political, it's technological, and those who control the grid control the game. Trump knows that, Musk knows that, and whether they like each other or not, they're both players in a system too big to ignore. Thanks for watching. If this kind of deep dive into the hidden forces shaping our world intrigues you, Stick around. There's always more beneath the headlines than we're told. And that's exactly what we're here to uncover.